So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their successes and challenges and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm really delighted we have with us Stuart Baker, who's a director at Northern Artillery. So firstly, Stuart, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and Northern Artillery and how you help people, that would be great.
Yep, so I'm a co-founder and director at Northern Artillery, and we are a creative production company based in Leeds. And what that is digital design, web design and build, motion graphics, 3D and animation.
Oh, wow. That's quite exciting.
It is indeed.
So, I mean, what you're doing must be so current right now, I would imagine, because so many people have, even more than before, have had to go more digital and probably pre-lockdown. So I guess there's such a demand for what you do right now.
There is. It's quite a saturated market, but there is a demand in lots of different areas. So part of what we've done as a business is really get our client base in certain areas and become really specialist in those areas. So for us, e-commerce is a big part of the business, and online sales is going strong. Obviously through COVID became even bigger than it ever has been. So that's an area that we really focus on. And then the other main area of the business is property marketing.
Right. Oh, fascinating. That's I work with one quite a significant estate agent who works on high-end homes, so that might be someone that hopefully is watching this. You might give you a call. Yeah, very, very much so. So if I can ask you maybe just to tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I got into business totally by chance, but I'll go back to the beginning. So I grew up in the 80s, and before you had VHS or DVD players, and it was always around Christmas time that Star Wars or Indiana Jones, those kind of films were on. And I think from a young age, I fell in love certainly with Star Wars, the way it was edited, the music, it took its time. It was just fantastic. And I loved everything about it. And obviously the pioneering special effects as well. So I think from an early age, I knew that I wanted to be involved in something along those lines, but I loved all of it. So I don't think I ever was sure about being an editor or going into the music side. I just seemed to love all of it. And then when I was at school, apparently I was one of the first students to submit GCSE artwork in digital format. So it was just as Photoshop was becoming readily available and went into school. So I submitted my artwork digitally, and then went on from there to Leeds Met to do a course, multimedia technology, and it was a bit of everything, which is exactly what I wanted. So the music editing, the video editing, a bit of programming, a bit of digital. So it was all the things that I had an interest in that I was learning. And then to pay my way through university, I worked on the door as a bouncer. And I was working at BRB in Leeds, a great bar back in the day. And I met who became my business partner, Liam Grogan. He was also working on the door, and he was doing a architectural degree at the time. And somebody had asked him to create an interactive CD-ROM, and they'd said, "Oh, I'll give you 500 quid if you can do this for me." And he said, yeah. So he designed it, and he said to me, he said, I've got no idea how to do the programming. I've done this lovely design, but I can't put it together. And it was the module that I was doing at the time. So I said, oh, I can do that. So I stepped in and did the back end for him, and he did the front end. We gave it to this chap, and we got the 500 quid, and we stood there, and we decided that it was a lot easier to do that than it was working on the door. So we put that money into a bank account and set a business up. So it was totally by chance, really. And that business became Teabag Studios, so I was in my second year of university, Liam the same. So we ended up that business ran for 12 years before we sold it to a global agency called Intermarketing. So for the first few years, we were at university, working 4 nights a week on the door and getting this business going.
Brilliant. That
Yeah.
must be really interesting times.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It was definitely a slog, though. There was about 3 hours a day allocated for sleeping at that time.
I can imagine. And so, I mean, from what you said, you really must have seen this whole massive change of technology from, as you say, the really start of it all the way through to, I mean, you know, the ability to create things from our own laptops, desktops, whatever. It must be. What's some of the sort of biggest, I guess, jumps in technology that you've experienced that have helped you most?
I mean, the reason we were able to get the business going, and it took a long time to get it going, was it was just at the time when TVs had gone from being square to flat screens. And because we were working on the door in Leeds, we were connected with a lot of bars and clubs, and we knew people, so we had a network there. And at that time, the flat screens were starting to go behind the bars. Yeah, obviously people were playing maybe Sky TV, or there was no content for them. So we recognized through that network and that technology, oh, this is something we can do. So we got the business going really with animating menus and club logos and putting just screen content. And that for the first few years was what we did to make enough money to be able to reinvest in kit. Certainly not enough money to live off. We ended up doing the door for 6 years whilst having the business. So, but that was how it got going really, and it just over a long period developed organically from there.
Brilliant, wonderful. And as you've grown, what are some of the biggest challenges would you say you've had to overcome?
The biggest challenge for us, or certainly for me, was the fact that I went straight from university into running this business, and I'd never had a mentor. I'd never seen anybody else do it. I'd never worked in any kind of company similar to what we were doing to understand structure, managing finances, looking at propositions, marketing yourself. So it really was from a laying down start. So I think the biggest challenge was just not having anything to compare it to. And whilst we, you know, I look back now and I wouldn't change a thing, it was a real slog at first. And I think not having that made a difference to how fast we were able to get going. That's definitely the main one, just not having anything to compare it to.
Yeah, I can imagine. Funny enough, I think you're probably now the 9th person I've met in 20 years that never worked for anybody else. It started straight a business, you know, started the business straight from education, which and you are quite rare in that respect. I guess the plus side of it, though, Stuart, is not being told you can't do stuff, because it's like you know, you have that, although you don't have maybe the knowledge, you also don't have the boundaries that other people might set for us, which can be seen with people that come from employment into business. Yeah,
no, I think it's how you treat that though, because that could be dangerous as well. And I think there was an element of this for me was maybe just thinking I knew more than I actually did and not respecting experience. I know as a younger man, I wasn't prepared to listen like I am now and take advice, and you don't have to take everybody's advice, but I think listening to it and then having a more educated conclusion at the end is a really important step, and that comes with experience and maturity, and because there was nobody telling us what to do. We were just making it up as we went, and you know, it went well, but there was a lot of learnings from failures as much as there was from success.
It's funny actually, because as a business coach, I wouldn't say I never work with startups. I love the idea of working with a startup from its inception, but what we found in the early days was that people starting businesses had all that, rightly so, all that confidence, enthusiasm, and it probably took a couple of years of having an effect so the crap gets out of them a little bit to then say, actually, maybe there is things I could learn. So I totally get that. And but I love I love that point of, yeah, we can't stop us. I think that's great, because we sort of need that to get the first couple of years under our belts, don't we? It's almost like nothing can stop us, and then eventually, well, maybe nothing can stop us, but maybe we could do with a bit of help. So I can totally line with that. So obviously you've learned a lot through the experiences you've had. What would you say your biggest learnings in business are?
I think on a personal level is recognizing my own strengths and my own weaknesses. When we got going, I was doing a bit of everything. I was doing the new business, I was editing, and I was project managing. So we were very much up and down, getting the work, doing the work. So I could see that there was other people, because I liked everything. I tried to do everything. I never became an expert in any one thing. So I think from there, and the way that we've been able to build the current business and build that business, we start to recognize other people's strengths, and how to bring people together to create wonderful, marketing and media through the ideas that were up here and the understanding of everything that we did holistically, but getting better people to come in and do it. And I think that was a big learning in the business in terms of the actual services that we provided. When we sold the business to Intermarketing, we went from a 13-man Leeds-based team to a global marketing agency, and that was an absolute eye-opener for me. And it was the best thing that we could have done. After 12 years, I think we didn't know what to do next. And although we were having a lot of success and the business was really getting going, it was time to see it done elsewhere and be part of something a bit bigger. And that was an absolute eye-opener for us, joining a global agency. And we joined when there was about 80 people, I think. And in the 6 years that I was there, it grew to about 300.
Wow.
With offices all over the world, and fantastic agency. And it was great to be part of that, and learned so much that I've now been able to take into our new business, Northern Artillery. Brilliant.
No, it's great to hear. I mean, it's similar for me. We grew my first business with 4 other guys to, well, it's over 100 people and 12 million turnover. We sold it to Siemens, and it was an eye opener. Obviously, going from a fast paced, smallish, UK company to working with a global organization was very eye opening about what. But challenging. And it was interesting from our perspective. We were sort of a small fast wheel, and this was this massive, structured wheel, and there was quite a lot of friction going on at that point. I have to say, but well, what a story so far. And obviously, I wanted to ask you, because Northern Artillery, an interesting name. Where did the name come from?
It took us a while to get there. And we almost answered it ourselves with what we were trying to say. So we were proud of being from the north, the no nonsense, straight talking, good old Yorkshireman mentality. And the reason we set the business up was to be creatively, the team that we've got, they're all senior, fantastic. Everybody in the team is fantastic at what they do. So we were sat there, and we wanted to get across that northern bit, and we wanted to get across the fact that our work, the proof was in the work, and the work was all. The aim is to be the best at what we do.
Yeah.
So that became our artillery is our work. So that's where Northern Artillery came from. Obviously the northern bit's self-explanatory, and the artillery is the quality that we bring in the work that we do.
Brilliant, love it. It's very I catch or ear catch you, but it stands out very, very much so. So I love that.
It's been a great name as well for us to be able to build a proposition around and a tone of voice and different beliefs for the business, and to stand up to the proposition that we actually wanted in the first place. So it took some getting there, but we're really, really proud and really happy with it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. And you probably we're a coaching organisation, and I wondered who the best coach or coaches you've had, whether it's business, sport, life in general, and what made them so.
I'll give you one of each. Certainly, I don't know if there's any one standout person, but when I joined into marketing and I went for a client meeting with Nikki Gray, and I've never seen anybody so comfortable, so engaging, so natural in front of clients. And even though I'd been doing new business meetings for 12 years, I remember sitting there and just thinking, wow, that is a masterclass. She just, in terms of building relationships with clients, just absolutely fantastic. And I think I learned a lot from her in that respect. It's probably a bit cliche, but in life, I'd say my dad. Who's obviously, he's taught me to ride a bike, he's taught me to play the guitar, taught me to do handstands. But even now, when there's something I need to do in the house, in the garden, he's just one of those guys he's got experience, but he's tried a lot of things and he's learned them himself. So on a daily basis, I turn to him for advice on how to best prune a bush, or to we laid a patio a couple of weeks ago and he was there helping me point it, and all these things that I'll be able to pass on in the future. So he's been a fantastic man in my life. And then sport wise, I had a coach, Simon Worrell. He's an ex-Leeds Rhino, and his ability to bring people together as a team and to focus on individual skills, just the way he was able to talk to people was absolutely so engaging and so inspiring, and absolutely fantastic coach. And he's gone on to have a great career using those skills as a team leader. And I think he just a very inspiring bloke.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. All three. I really love that. And have you picked up through your career any favourite quotes or sayings that you sort of fall back on or use a lot that you could share with us?
One that I got from a friend of mine, Alex Simmons, which I think is really useful for business, is your network is your net worth.
Brilliant.
Which I think is really good. Network is so important, surrounding yourself by the right people, and whether that's in business or in life, I think that's really important to focus on. One that my grandma used to read to me, which was a line from Rudyard Kipling's and it was if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and what's more, you'll be a man, my son. And for me, that's just a great line when I'm having a day where I don't want to get out of bed and I can't be bothered to do anything. It's a kick up the arse to go and get something done, and you'll get a lot more achieved by doing so. And then the last one, which I think's been certainly relevant this week, is that song "Always Wear Sunscreen," because I'm forever going outside and forgetting to put any sun. Wait, I look out the window and it's raining, and I go out and I walk to get some lunch, and I've come back with 3rd-degree burns. So that should be one of my favourite quotes.
I think it should be mine as well. I go lobster very, very quickly. So it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it, when the weather changes and we get this lovely sun. I love to be out in it, but I immediately go red. But there we go.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. I love those quotes. And what would you say you've learned about yourself as you've grown your business?
I think the respect given to experience. Like I said before, I think I went into it just with a lot of expectations that I could just go and do it easily. I didn't have the answers. I don't think I wanted to listen. And listening to people is so important now. You don't have to use it all, but it's so important to stop and listen. And I think just taking my time as well to respond. I was quite quick, jump in, and everything had to be done there and then. So for me, the biggest thing is just what comes with time and experience, and I'm 20 plus years now in the industry, so looking back at the kid who started to now, just what's up there, and that can only come with time and experience. And it's probably one of the better parts of growing older is having more experience.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I think one of my a phrase I use a lot with what I do and with myself is slow down to speed up, and I think that comes with experience, isn't it? Is that, you know, we tend with that enthusiasm to go as fast as we can, but often taking a step back, looking at the situation, and maybe, you know, using our experience to pick the right path can get us there way more quickly. But you know, but then we can't kill the enthusiasm as well, because we need that alongside it to keep us going.
Absolutely, yeah.
So brilliant. So I mean, what career you've had already, and I think if we look forward, what does the future look like for you guys, and what do you see as the main challenges as you move forwards, if any?
I'd say some of the obvious challenges in business, certainly for us as a new business, you know, you've got your cash flow. How do we grow the business the way we want to grow it? Getting the right people in the team. Culture's a big thing for us. Those are the obvious ones. I think marketing is a luxury service. Obviously, we're in very unsure times at the moment. So for us, diversifying and recognizing a client base that should stay strong through a recession or times that may prove difficult. So as a business, trying always focusing on those things, the people, the culture, and the clients. I think for the future as well, for the business, for us, is just staying true to why we have done what we've done. And one of the reasons for choosing to leave into marketing, I was a director at Intermarketing, global agency, fantastic position, but I was moving more away from production, creative production, more into other areas, which I think when I sat back and looked at it, the production side was what got me into it in the first place. And I just found that I was just moving away from where my passion was. So the decision to leave and set up and go again was to put production back at the top of what we were doing. So as a business, I think staying true to the reason for starting it is a real focus for us.
Yeah, I love, I think Brian Tracy talked about the best organizations are the ones where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at.
Yeah.
And it's, as you say, staying true to that and say, look, you know, I love this and I'm good at it. And you know, why wouldn't I keep doing it? Because that could be the spot. I remember going many years ago. I think I was still in college, and I went to an open day for Rolls-Royce. So it was a presentation of you know, if you want to join Rolls-Royce engineering. And the things always stuck with me, God knows how many years since, was that what they said was you could have a track to board level. There was a career path at board level at either as an engineer or as a manager, and you could go all the way to the top. So you didn't have to go, you know, be good at what you do as an engineer and then become a manager, as traditional, you know, lots of organizations do. The only thing they insisted on through that career path was that at some point you swap stream for 18 months. So you have to, so at least you can see it from the other point of view of being a manager. And I just thought it was so enlightening.
Yeah, I think that ties into maybe some of the things I've been saying about getting the experience and being able to see it from other sides, have a more holistic view. So we didn't do that first, and the experience we got from the global agency has been game changing for us in starting the new business, which we set up in February last year. So we're only really just over a year in. Well
done, brilliant. Well, so I'm sure with the success you've already had and the career you've had, it's onwards and upwards for more success. It'd be great, but maybe swing by in another 12 months and catch up and see where you are at that point, Stuart, which would be great. So just a few quick questions as we sort of close. What would you say to anyone that was thinking of going to business right now?
Listen to people. It's not always possible, but get the experience from watching other people do it. Exactly what I've said before. For us, we played the long game, and it took a long time to get there. And I probably learned more. Well, I didn't learn more, but I learned as much in the first year into marketing as I did in the first 6 years doing it myself. But I think, you know, it's given us a bit of grit and determination, because we kept going at it, and, you know, working on the door 4 nights a week was a tough slog. But I think listening, getting the experience from others, and then if going into business, knowing what your purpose is, go in with a purpose. Back to the network is your net worth. So it's really important to put yourself out there in front of people, get known, and then you've got to believe it's going to be successful. I think that's another key element, belief.
It really is, isn't it? I often fall back on Henry Ford's quote, which said, whether I think I can or think I can't, I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is, it says, and that doesn't mean it'll always be right, but you're more likely to make it right if you believe it will be. I mean, trying to make something work when you don't believe it will is, I can't imagine that horrible situation to be in. So I totally agree. And if you started again, is there anything you do differently?
Well, I think I'm kind of doing that now, really.
Yeah, sorry, I guess you are.
Yeah. So the proposition, the team, being all over the finances, all the things that we didn't know how to do first time round, we've had that experience now. So I think just you've got to know every part of your business, and you've got to be all over it. And I'd like to think that that's exactly what we're doing now.
Brilliant. Of course, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And finally, this would be quite interesting, actually. And what would be the best advice you would give to an 18-year-old you, if you could?
Right. I think firstly, make the most of my body, because as an 18-year-old, I think I was very capable, very good at sports. And that's maybe the one thing where experience doesn't make you better. Making the most of my youth, because as I've got older and things have snapped, and I look back and I just think, oh, that was such a privilege to have that ability to set off running and not have to, you know, stop with a pulled hamstring or something. So I think making the most of my body while I could, and still can, but obviously it changes over time. And then if I could go back, probably learn to listen a bit sooner, because it took me a while to do that. And I think that's the best thing I've ever been able to do, really, is actually start taking in other people's advice and doing something with it. Brilliant.
Very wise words. And thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been really fascinating, and yeah, it'd be great to come back in 12 months. You obviously gone through one career, you know, one business growth, the sale, the leave, and another again. It'd be good to see the learnings that you've had, as you say, starting again, and the, you know, how quickly you've moved into that growth phase compared to the first time. So that would be wonderful if that would work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.